Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we have an exciting guest. And I say that mainly just because I'm always excited about any and all of my guests because it gives me an opportunity to, what I feel like, have a great conversation and discussion about something that I find incredibly interesting, which is basically the fall or the rise and fall and sometimes decapitation and how aggressively or not that might seem to some people of kingdoms. And we're going to be sitting down and having a conversation today with CoCo, the previous lead king of 68, better known as GG. And to my OGs out there, gang, gang. CoCo, welcome.
Hi guys. So yeah, I killed GG. Nobody else did. I just want to put this out there. That's the first thing I'll say.
Okay. Now, there's a lot, obviously, to talk about here. 68 has been, for the better part of, geez, a year and a half, I'd say, of a top 25 kingdom, whether, again, consistently placing in there or around that, if not placing within that realm. You guys have appeared on many of my top 25 lists, which again, I'm hoping to finally kick that back off and start that back up this weekend. But neither here nor there. You have been a staple. People know who 68 is. People know who GG is. Walk us, if you can, give us an introduction here on you. Your position. Were you always the lead? Were you always the king? When did you start with 68 and GG? How did things come about for you there within the kingdom, within the alliance?
So basically, just to clarify, the original kingdom for GG was 83, and eventually when it moved to 68, that was a bit before. That was the season prior to Season of Strife and the installation of Own Kingdom. And by the way, as a fun fact, 68 used to be the home realm of EIS. So they obviously they moved out from there, but then we took a home from after they were gone for season basically. So 68 became the home of GG. I took over after Oku stepped down, and I basically was the king of GG for what 7 seasons in total. And yeah, that was a big learning curve of experience because I've never been R5 or R4. Well, I've been R4 for a bit, but I've never been like into big management in any of these kind of games, including Rise of Kingdom. I've never played Rise of Kingdom, so this is about my first. So yeah, we've been going through a lot, and obviously we had new people coming in. I was trying to do my best as a kingdom at the very start to have an impact, which is our best season was obviously like season SOS1. I feel like was one of our best seasons in terms of like giving a good impression about the new GG. And that's how I met many people over this time. Yeah.
Okay. So you've been there 7 seasons. You came into the position, even if you weren't initially sought after, or if it wasn't a position you started out in because you said it, you ended up taking it over from the previous. Just to give a little bit of, just a little bit of context here on 68, right? You guys first, and again, I don't know if you guys were the gladiators back then, but this was about a little over 2 years ago. On May 11th, there was a GG, which was a hyphen GG hyphen, right? That you guys were known as. But previously it was the gladiators. This was actually back on S25. But I know you said that you guys ended up going 83. The first note I have for 83, which was GG 83, this was back in September 16th of 2023. So about 2 years and a month ago. Now, when you guys had appeared in the season 2 KVK, I think it was S211 at that time, you guys were the number 21 alliance in the game. And then you had worked your way up to 15. The next pool we did, 11th. I mean, again, you guys have had, some consistently top placings. I think as high as number 5 alliance in the game. And this was back last year, November, when, and keep in mind, right, this was back when obviously some of the powers were a little bit different, but this was like around like the 16 billion, like the high 16, 17 range, right, back when Noir was, like really boosted above others, at least
Mhm.
at the time. Uh, so there's obviously been a lot of highs and lows in GG. Let's get to some of the meat of it here.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, over the last however many number of seasons, things have started to happen that culminated into what I had covered before, which was the eventual disband. Can you talk a little bit about what was the buildup and how long and how
Okay.
far back did it really start for what ended up
Um.
culminating to what we ended up getting to?
So essentially, it's a bit. I mean, there's a bunch of it came from attrition of like I don't know, just making decision, having people being upset about a certain direction that we took, and that was one of the big problem that even the old GG had, even before I became R5, was we could never figure out where we wanted to take GG. Did we want it to be more casual or did we want it to be more try hard? And both came with their own ups and down. Like the fact that if we wanted to be try hard, then we needed to up our demands and make members work harder and not just keep our people around because they're friends. But at the same time, most people play this game to play with their friends. So we kind of tried to juggle around with this in mind. And I would say that like the season that basically showed like I think it was SOS4 where it was like GG, Echo, BDO, WAO, ROG, and RAC. That was a big season where we kind of realized that like we kind of don't feel like we belong in that tier because we had so many people that were just not up to the standard of at that point. So I basically did a cleanup. I did basically just say, okay, we're just gonna cut down the power and we're gonna keep that power at a certain threshold. But that did not fix any. That did not actually fix the problem. It kind of. How can I explain this? One of the things people kept saying is that GG is super active. GG is active and whatever. But people got tired of the game, and some of the people that we remove forced other people to move with them that were either pretty active or not. And I still stand by the fact that like a lot of the decision I made throughout my career as R5, I don't regret them because they add their context and everything. Did I make mistake? Sure. Did I learn from my mistake? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I would say that that's the point where I did this cut and I basically did not recruit. Like we did not grow in power. We basically just went down. And the problem with this is that as much as I could explain it many times over to people, some just look at it and we're like, oh, Gigi's bleeding out, Gigi's going downhill from there. And season after that, it was us trying to get new recruits. But then we kind of got into this weird position where people either wanted to be in bigger kingdom, like EIS, Echo, BDO at that time, but they didn't want to go, or the other way around. They wanted to go to a dead kingdom where they could not stress, they could not have hard KVKs or whatever. So we were just basically in the middle of it all, trying to attract people to us, but nobody really wanted to come. It was like trickle of like one or two people at a time. Um, and again, some people saw this as like, oh, we're going downhill, something's going wrong, and they also those players, though those players that are very active, that are some of our best players, they wanted to have more. And again, we tried to push for more, but it wasn't enough. Every single time, it felt like it wasn't enough. So some people left, some people stayed. They were very loyal and everything. And even some of the people that left, I understand where they come from. I had a lot of discussion with them. It's not like it's not like the people that left GG in the past few seasons are people that I've still not friend with them. I still talk to them every now and then. But yeah, That's basically what it is. Like it was just basically the hardcore players were not satisfied because of the casual players, and the casual players kept be getting tired and kept on uh just stopping and or just not fitting in the mold, and we were kind of stuck with them. And then there's the thing, the real thing with the game is that a lot of people are getting tired of the game, getting tired of the repetitiveness of everything, and they just silently quit the game without saying anything. And it happens. I get that, and this is also why you want to have a fresh recruit come in that wants to play the game and everything. That it is like it has a certain domino effect where you need to have the people that are motivated to come around, but that motivation needs to stay and needs to stick. So if you have someone that's just not motivated to do anything, that's going to be contagious, which kind of leads to another point. One of the things that a lot of people pointed out is that, well, our numbers were great. Our numbers were insane. Like we had a lot of people with great stats and everything, but the problem was that our outside of PvP, like whenever we tried to do Behemoth, whenever we tried to do Alliance Mobilization, whenever we tried to do Dwarf statues, there was always resistance. There was always people being like, I don't like this mechanic, therefore I don't want to do it. And again, it felt like, it felt basically like those that wanted to do it felt kind of like on the side that they also didn't want to do it because nobody wanted to do it, and it just spread around, and suddenly you have 140 members, but only like 30 of them wants to do Behemoth. So, yeah.
Interesting. Gosh, there is a lot to dive into there.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you kind of giving a general lay of the land and an overview on some of those touch points, on some of those pain
Hmm.
points. So I guess the first one I'm curious on is, you know, and again, I think you summarized everything pretty well for what happened leading up. Now you get to the final decision. And then again, I want to kind of go down some of these paths here for some of the things you mentioned, but everything culminates now. What was that final day or those final decision, those final conversations? Because I imagine you would have had to sit down and have a conversation with anyone left over there in a part of the management team before maybe letting any of the players know.
Yeah.
What was that time like with you, any of the R4s, any of the maybe other contributing members you might have brought in at that time before letting kind of the masses know at that time that you were or you had come to the decision of disbanding? Was everyone pretty much on board? Was there some pushback as far as, other people here?
Well,
Did someone say, hey, I'm going to step up and take over and I'm going to now do this thing and revitalize? Like, how did that play out before you got to that decision near the end?
mhm. Well, see, that's the thing. I technically did not come to the decision of like disbanding myself, but like I'll just explain a little bit. So it was basically, like I said, it was attrition. So I would say like about like 2 seasons ago, I hit that point where I was like, I don't want to be R5 anymore. And like I got too, like it was too much for me in terms of like in real life I had I had issues where like for example I started to have like I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, so I started to get treatment for that. I got the machine and everything. Car broke down, etc. I got promoted at work for with bigger tasks, so less time to play, uh, and much more energy spent at work, more so than on the game. And the thing is, these discussions they have not been like new. They've been floating around, like thinking, what do we do? And what we didn't want to do, we didn't want to just disband. That's the first thing. We tried our best to figure out what we wanted to do, and the solution to most of the problem, like I mentioned earlier, was we needed to basically merge with a group of like-minded people, like a group of players that also wanted to do content, and we could basically keep the whole thing alive, whatever it was named GG or not. So we had like I had some merch talk here and there. I tried to figure out a good merch partner. Also, we were trying to see, okay, recruitment wise, how does it look? Are people applying to GG, or we're looking around? Like I was trying to have R4s look around and pick around to see if there was a group or not that wanted to join us or something. Uh, and also there was like the actual idea of saying, hey, let's evaluate our core members. Let's evaluate how many are we that want to stick together and go somewhere else. And again, these discussion and like especially in the last few days, we tried to go over them, and no matter which decision we would have taken at that point, like I'd say like about like there was nothing. Like it was about like not even a third of the alliance, I'd say, because every single person had an issue with one of the, and I'm talking like in the eye level of our management, where we just sat down and tried to look at it. We tried to look at, hey, maybe we should stay on 68, or maybe we should like have the merch dog and whatever. And at that point, like like I said, it got nowhere. So I kind of just said, okay, you know what, like this is not going anywhere. I'm getting tired of this. And so are the other R4s that wanted to step down, because they were all, some of them were also tired of being in leadership. So I just decided, like, look, I don't mind if someone would step up and take the kingdom, but I'm stepping down and I'm leaving. That was basically it. And like it's not like I was looking at that's the other thing too, that it's even something that I knew since I took over R5, was that I could not step down because there were so many people that were either loyal to me or some of the R4s around me. So as soon as those people or me just left the room, a bunch of people were gonna leave the room, and suddenly there was nobody else. And if you look at server 68 now, it's pretty much dead empty. So like there's about like 10 people left. Um, but yeah, so I would say it's like I we tried to find a replacement for me. Like I wanted somebody else to be the next R5, but they also felt like if I was to go, if I was to leave, or somebody else was to leave, then they didn't want to be R5. At the end of the day, Eagle, one of my good friends, decided to take over 68 and said that, like, hey, if you cannot find a home or whatever, and you want to have a chill season, you can stay on 68. But yeah, there are basically like 10 people over right now. Most of the players of GG found their new home in TDC, NXW, and LXV. Uh, Others found their homes in other places, but to me, it's fine, because at the end of it, I feel like the decision was a good one, because the community is still alive. Like my worst fear was just to lose the community itself. And our community is still pretty much alive, but obviously it's no longer the same as before. But I feel like we're all like part of the same group nonetheless. And if we fight on the field, it's gonna be what it is, you know?
No, absolutely. I mean, if anything, one of the maybe silver linings when it comes to any kind of disbands, or if kingdoms are having some kind of mass exodus or any kind of separation for any reason, at the end of the day, you still have a lot of the connections, you have a lot of the relationships and friendships that you've established, along with, that if you guys still have an active kingdom or GG Discord, even if it's just for the OGs to hang out in, that's always something that probably connects you a little bit more, especially if you see people out on the field and it happens to be, you catching a couple people from the alliance at one KVK, a couple different people from the alliance at a different KVK. It's an opportunity to still obviously communicate and socialize as well. And whether it's reminiscing about the good times or, maybe about a recent fight you guys just had out on the field. So I
Yeah.
absolutely understand that. I get it from that side as well. So you get to this point where you felt like, listen, it's just more of a personal decision for me that I just can't do. And I think you bring up a really good point in this sense is that sometimes players will feel a sense of loyalty and deep camaraderie to their leadership team, especially if they do a good job, especially if they engage, if they're social, if they communicate well, if they take time out of their day to talk to you, if they just don't come off like, a bunch of deox, essentially, you
Yeah.
can really build, I think, good relationships. And you mentioned that you kind of felt like you were between a rock and a hard place where if you left or if you stepped down and someone stepped up, they were worried about n- whether or not they would even want to take the position and or continue in it, because if you step down and then you considered leaving, a number of other people might leave as well. And I guess it's kind of like two different perspectives, because on one end, what if you stayed and they were able to do everything they could to bring things back, and then it revitalized GG, and then it made it so you didn't want to go anywhere. But then the other side, which is more of the unknown, and I can understand that from their perspective, is that, well, we don't know what's going to happen. And obviously, if CoCo did leave, a number of people would probably leave as well, whether they went with him or they left just because he's not here anymore. Right. So you kind of have like the branch off there, which is the ripple effects from you potentially leaving the kingdom. So yeah, it sucks. It's kind of it's almost like it's kind of like choosing between two evils in a sense. So I can only imagine what some of the officers felt. But let me fast forward. So you make your announcement. Did you guys have like a town hall? Did you have kind of like a last hurrah like voice call with everyone? Outside, or was it just like a Discord or Kingdom announcement? And then how was it received by everyone there?
I mean, uh, okay. So just to clarify, there's something in the timeline I did not mention. Before the last meeting I had with the R4s, I had an actual town hall where I wanted to discuss that, like, hey, there's merch talk going around. Like, I know people, like, because people kept asking me what's going on,
Mm,
what's the next step, what are we gonna do? And at that point, like, that it was not decided anything that, oh, we're gonna disband or whatever. I was like, hey, I was looking to maybe join these guys, and I kind of wanted to get a feel of like how the community will react to a merge, or how they would react to potentially, like, I don't know, joining another alliance, just with a couple of people, and that kind of gave me a vibe that, like, some people already had, like after we that okay, that's the other thing too. One of the things that definitely did influence one of my decision personally was that some of my good friends basically told me that, hey, look, I think you should step down because you're not like like it's not good for your own sake, your own health. It's not like that I'm not a good R5, but like I don't want to be rebuilding a kingdom, and I'd rather just go somewhere else. And some people told me this, and it kind of struck a chord, because at some point, like, a lot of these people, I spent talking with them in voice chat, like, not even just playing COD, just playing other games too, because obviously, like, we don't just play COD, we also we try to diverse ourselves and just have some fun in other games. But that's the thing. At some point, like, I felt like, what am I trying to keep here? Like, what am I trying to keep here if, like I've been doing this to keep my friends together, and I can't keep my friends together because they all want different things. And I don't know, like, that's the part of the reason, like, I could not stay on Service 68, because again, it felt like there was this weird ambience where people just wanted to do specific things. They just want to do PvP, and that's it. Where some others were asking for more on the other aspect, and it's just, I don't know, like, it kind of soured the mood in a way, for some people. And like, I felt like, here's the thing: I sent out that message way in advance so people could have find, uh you know they could find out a new home and everything. And in the meantime, I mean, people, the message got out and people looked around. Oh yeah, there was another thing too. we didn't want people to find out through a leak of the message on Discord. So one of us suggested we put up a meme, and we posted a meme in the COD meme section where we just said, "GG is done. We're disbanding, guys. It's over." Because I didn't want this to be a leak thing. I wanted to be official about it and say like, yeah, and I wanted to be clear up front about everything, that like it's not about like, oh, I don't know, we see that we lost a bunch of people going, I don't know, to another alliance or something, or there's beef going on. Not just, we're done, and like I'm fine, and I'm happy that my members found a new home, and I wish the best for them, and that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah. I so so based on that then, there wasn't, I guess, the final kind of message announcement to everyone then
Yeah, it
at,
was the
at
final nail.
okay, understood. So once that came out, that you're stepping down, and because again, I know I had covered that. What were some of the reactions there after that was sent out? I have to imagine you got some messages. The management team probably got some messages. People were probably talking in the Lions chat or in the Discord. I guess, what was the general vibe? Was it received well? Was there a level of understanding for where you were at and the state of the kingdom? Were more people disappointed than they were more so relieved? Was there more relief than disappointment? What was, I guess, the general feeling that you took away after the announcement was made?
I would say a lot of people were thankful and sent me messages saying they understood where I came from. Um, and like there was not, like, sure, there was some disappointment, but there was there was not any outcry. There wasn't anyone that just, threw a tantrum or anything. It was pretty quiet. Like, we just were like, okay. And some people asked, well, is there a place I can go? And some others tried to help them out. And it was basically just, people accepted that it was pretty much over, and yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, this is the thing. No matter what, even if it's one or two people, you're always going to get some range of, some people just saying, "Man, listen, I feel betrayed," and or they lash out and they're like, "Oh man, this is the shittiest kingdom I've ever played in," and it's just, it's like, don't follow anyone, don't listen to anyone, don't believe these people anymore. I mean, again, there's always the chance you're going to get those extreme sides
Yeah,
of
but
the
we did
spectrum.
not.
But yeah, based on what you're saying, it seems like everyone for the most part was either understanding, or if there was a little bit of disappointment, at least there was some acknowledgement of like, listen, this is what the situation is, and regardless if we don't like it, or if it's not maybe what we wanted, at least we now know what we need to do, and how we need to move going forward.
Yep.
So the announcements made, you get your feedback, you see how things are getting received, you end up moving. Obviously, we showed where you ended up going to, in this case, going to 60 with Echo. Was that an easy decision? Was it the only decision? Were there some other places you were considering? What kind of a kingdom were you really looking for? Again, given your life changes, given where you given where you are now versus where you were.
So essentially, I had multiple choices I could have taken. The only reason why I ended up, well, I kind of just was like, oh, some of my friends are going to Echo, and I was like, huh. I mean, I could go to Echo. I also got some friends over there. And at first, I would say that some of the places I thought about going, I thought about the idea that, like, hey, I could have some old friends or some members come to me and we could still be together. But at the same time, the more I thought about it, the more I realized no, I need to distance myself. Like I need to just not put me in a position where I have to be in charge of a group, if that makes sense.
So kind of like a
Like
clean break.
yes, but that doesn't mean that I'm not in contact with the former GG member. I'm still like I don't know. Like I've taken, for example, I decided to play some games like World of Warcraft. I decided to just give it a shot because one of the guys wanted to try it out, and I've not played it in years. So I was like, oh well, why not? And again, we're not in the same alliance. We're not on the same server, but we're still friends, and we still play together, like as a group. And that's just what it is. This is a thing I could not allow myself while I was R5 because I have to think about the next step. I had to think about the recruitment. I had to think about the diplomacy. And even whenever I tried to put someone up front and delegate work, I would still be involved. And sometimes, even when I delegated work to somebody, I felt like it wasn't done the way I wanted it done. So I did it myself, and that's why I'm saying like,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
not the only one. I was not the only one like that. Like that's why I'm saying like that's why I need to distance myself from that and just be like, hey, I need a clean break. I need to just be on my own. And sure, I have like two friends, but that's about it. Like I'm not taking care of a group. I'm not trying to represent to play devil advocate, and I don't have to stop whatever I'm doing like because that's the thing I've been missing for a while. I kind of want to just come back home from work and play video games and just chill by playing the game. I don't enjoy coming back from work and then having to log on the game, getting 50 messages, and having to stop whatever I do in the war to address the fact that some member spoke badly in world chat, for example, or did something that was dirty, or hit an ally or something. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like I felt like
Oh,
at
I
some
do.
point the game felt like a second job, and my job was already is it's already taking a lot of toll on me. I didn't need that on top of it. So I kind of like I'm glad I kind of took off and that most people accepted it. And ever since then, I feel like this was the right decision because at the very least, where I decided to end it, it did not end in a way that like I said, like you mentioned, like there's no people that are bitter. There's no people that are like very resentful that are loud about it because I can tell you, there's been people that could be pretty loud about things in GG, but everyone was pretty quiet, pretty accepting of whatever the decision was. And like I said, they're trying new homes, they're trying a new thing. A lot of people are pretty happy with where they're going. I've heard good things about those players, and I mean, if it doesn't work, they could always move somewhere else. And that's the other thing too is that a lot of the GG members they wanted to try something new, and that's why some of them left. But they wanted to come back later. The problem is, I personally could not just. I sadly could not keep the together because myself, I just could not. And obviously, I'm not the only one. I was talking about like it is myself, but like I have a plenty other R4s that have been with me, and I'm still friends with them and everything. But like a lot of us were just tired. That's why we just decided to say, you know what, we're gonna call it. So I don't know if at some point we're gonna get back together. But I'm honestly so far, I feel like not being R4 is pretty great. So, well, R5, whichever.
Yeah, man, listen, you are preaching to the choir. As someone who, and I talk about this quite a bit when it comes to management burnout, leadership burnout, and the fact is that I don't think I don't think most game development companies, especially within genres that have guilds and alliances, maybe for the most part. But I guess to kind of keep things more square or more narrow to this, at least within the kind of kingdom builder genre, I don't think there's quite a even an entry level understanding of how impactful, how valuable, how meaningful leadership people are within these games, and how when, because let's be real, right, you're always going to have player drop off, it's always going to be a thing that's going to be constant. But typically when you have things like a stable kingdom, a successful kingdom, an active kingdom, a social kingdom, these are things that can keep people playing the game longer and can keep them playing the game first and foremost. But when you have things such as, kingdoms that fall apart for any number of reasons, you may lose some people because some people will be willing to migrate. Some people may just stay there in the home kingdom and then look to migrate later. And then some people might just flat out quit. And you referenced it earlier in our conversation with people that were silently quitting. And this is just one of those examples. It's very similar to, when you set kind of, any level of decent expectations or high expectations in a KVK, and you guys just, and anyone just gets completely crushed. And now you're just kind of devastated. You might have some people that could quit from that or migrate out of a kingdom, even if that kingdom is active and, successful to a degree. And it just, to me, it really feels like, and I understand they are doing some things now in the game to help manage to delegate, to save the amount of time that is being put out in certain tasks that allow for management people in an R4, R5 position to better use their time more efficiently when they're in the game. But it is something that is always going to be a constant. And aside from me at least trying to bring as much awareness and attention to it as possible, one of the other things I also try to put out there is for people that are in kingdoms that are not a part of management to let your management know, how you feel, especially if, you don't talk to them that often, but you think to yourself like, man, I'm really happy things turned out this way, or like I really like the decision that they made here. Don't just keep that inside, like tell someone. Let your management know, give them that positive feedback, that positive reinforcement, especially when they're doing things that either you agree with or something that they decided that just ended up working out well for your situation, or you like how something played out, or maybe you thought the game plan for, a particular push out of a zone or through a choke point worked out really well because of the KVK or the war lead there at the time. Let them know, and give them some love, give them some shout outs. Like all of those things are so meaningful. And so it's just, yeah, hearing you talk about these things are things that I myself have experienced firsthand from just running projects and Rock and COD, Infinity Kingdom. And there's just so many common denominators, just so many similarities. And it's one of the things that I don't think really gets enough, I don't think gets talked about enough by how important kind of nurturing and keeping management personnel happy, excited, engaged. Because if people drop off, it can easily become a snowball effect. And then all of a sudden you get to a point, and I feel like your guys' story is somewhat similar-ish here, where it eventually just kind of snowballed and you get to a point where it's like, look, we just can't sustain this anymore. And this is what happens in the kingdom. And now people have to go and find other homes. Maybe some people quit. I mean, it has to be more of a net loss than it is a net positive for the game company as a whole, even though it is just one kingdom, out of many. So, anyways, that's my, I guess, kind of longer response, which is just that I feel you. I feel for you in that. And I very much
Thanks.
understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and also like I have to give credit where credit is due. Like Kingdom Management was awful before, and we've gone a very long way with the King's Chat, with Gloria. Gloria is great. Everyone in King's Chat praise Gloria, and I cannot say, and I can't say more than anything. She's a great community manager. There's been a lot of good changes with the kingdom management. For example, migration used to be a pain in the neck. We had to open up the gates at a certain amount at a time, and sometimes you could get people sneaking in that you didn't want to have. Like there was so many things. being able to remove members, sure, it costs something, but whatever. At least the option is there. So there's a lot of things that they can still improve for management, and it's great that these tools are there now. I wish these were there before because I can't. I got so many examples. I don't want to go over them, but like the kind of example where like I felt awful to tell someone that was going through some, real life situation, very serious life situation. Like essentially being telling like hey, I know you're going through this thing that's really hard for you, but I need you to play this mobile video game, please, a bit more. Like I didn't say that obviously. Like
Yeah.
I was honest with this person. I told them like just quit. Like I get it. Like it's awful. But like I, how can you convince someone like that? Like
Yeah.
if someone told me they want to quit the game, they want to step down, they want to just it's not for them. I understood that. I perfectly understood where they came from, and that's the thing. That's what a good a small example of like how far it comes from. Because sometimes I felt a bit envious of those people that were quitting or anything because I felt like sometimes I kind of would also just wish to quit because it was pretty demanding and everything. And I would say uh, this last season specifically, there's a couple of morning I woke up, I didn't want to even pick up my phone. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to check Discord pings. I didn't want to.
Hmm.
I straight up. The only thing that came to my mind was just I want to quit. I just want to quit. So no, like I said, like since I like now I'm currently in Echo meeting old people I've not seen in a while, new people that I've yet to meet. Pretty excited to see how this KVK goes. I'm pretty excited to see how my friend's KVK is gonna go. Whether it's be TTC, NXW, LXV, or ROG, OMG, whatever have you, wherever those players went. I just hope for the best for all of them. And if it doesn't work out, they know where they can go. They know where their friends are at, and they can just move over there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, no, man. Listen, I appreciate you walking
mhm.
me through everything and giving us a little history and taking us through a little bit more on kind of the inner thought process and the timeline on how things ended up developing and culminating and the decision essentially on what ended up happening there in 68 and of course with GG. But I guess as we kind of round things out now for you, Coco, I always like to let people kind of give them the floor here at the end. Any shout outs, any shots you'd like to fire off into the distance, into the great ether and beyond, or any declarations you'd like to make? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I mean, uh, you can't kill what's already dead. GG will live on forever. So, and yes, I killed GG. That's what it is. That's just how it is.
Okay. Short and sweet and right to the point. Well,
Yep.
Coco, listen, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. And again, man, the walkthrough on everything. And, I think like I think everyone, I'm sure, especially the people there in 68 would for the most part agree, if not, wholeheartedly that, a number of people, if not up to everyone, probably wishes things could have turned out differently. But, hopefully they have moved on to, greener pastures and, places that they might be able to call a new home for them. So thank you so much, man, for sitting down with me. And again, I really appreciate the time.
All right. Have a good time. Have a good one.
All right, Coco, take care.